I'm here with Dave Simpson from Simply Sharp Scissor Sharpening. He's been scissor sharpening for 6.5 years, and I'm going to ask him some questions today about how you should choose your scissors and how you should look after your scissors. Dave, what should the viewers be looking for when they're buying scissors?
The first thing and the most important thing is, does it fit your hand? Is it ergonomically comfortable, and does it work for you the way that you cut hair? Those are the two most important things. Then you move on to the steel. Is it a decent steel? Is it from a repeatable company? Does it have a warranty? All those kind of things. But the most important thing is, does it fit your hand comfortably, and does it fit your cutting style?
I've often thought that as well, because when you invest in a scissor, that's the point of contact that you're applying all your skill. It's on the blade of the scissor, and when you're spending all that money, you want to get something that fits very well. You're going to be using it all day long, right?
Absolutely. You're holding that scissors probably at least 50% of your day, and it's your main tool for your work. So you have to invest in something that works for you. You know, if it's uncomfortable, if it causes you a thumb ache, if it doesn't fit your hand properly, it can cause RSI and lots of hand issues. So it's really important. The ergonomic fit is probably the most important thing.
Okay, how a scissor fits. Dave, what type of scissors are people buying? Are they going for short or long scissors?
It's quite cyclical. A couple of years ago, I'd have said long scissors were the in thing, but I'm seeing now among barbers that a lot of them now are going back to 6 or 5.5 inch scissors for detailing around the ears, chipping in, but 7.5s and probably 5.5s are the two most common sizes that I see now.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, I often see a technique where people say don't cut beyond your first knuckle when you're using the scissors. And I always think, well, what's the point in buying a 7-inch scissor if you're only going to cut, you know, an inch, inch and a half of the hair that you have in your grasp? But maybe that's where you would be leaning towards getting a shorter scissor.
And it depends on your barbering style. On the traditional barbering, that the whole blade tends to get worn, but with modern barbering, I'm seeing a lot of people point cutting, so I see the tips getting really worn, and specifically right at the very tips of the scissors get really worn if you're doing a lot of chipping in and texturizing, because it gets used the most.
I probably wouldn't touch a 7-inch scissor if I was going to be doing a lot of chipping in, but it's very good using a 7-inch scissor for scissor over comb, blending in work, club cutting. That's probably where I'd be using it the most. What about steel then? What is a good steel for someone to be looking to purchase?
I would say the absolute minimum would be a 440 base steel.
440C steel.
Yeah, or 440J or 440C is probably the best starting. It's reasonably priced, and it's reasonably hard wearing. Most scissors will sharpen up well, but the better the steel, the longer the edge will last, and the longer the scissors will last as well.
So for the viewer, 440C steel is a very hard steel, and it was designed, it's like a ball bearing steel. And I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, it was designed by Japanese chefs. They wanted that steel designed.
There's a lot of rumours going about how it was designed. So it's like anything else. If you Google it, you'll find 10 answers to it. So, but the most important thing is it's a Japanese steel.
Okay, so 440C or 440J, that would be an entry point, you think?
Yes.
Okay. Beyond that, there's other steels.
It's Hitachi. There's lots of other steels, and a lot of manufacturers don't actually put the steel on the manufacturing the steel on the blade nowadays. But if you're buying high-end scissors, then generally they're good steel.
Well, I mean, I have a set of scissors here. These are Hitachi steel, which I got from Quartered Steels. They've moved away from the Hitachi steel because I believe it's become a very expensive steel to get, and they now use VG10, which is Vanadium Gold 10. Now, there's no gold in that. Gold is a reference to the standard of the scissor, but that type of scissor, you can put a different edge on that. Can you tell me about that?
There are basically two edges on your barbering scissors. One is a traditional German bevel edge, which is very much a traditional scissors, very good for blunt cutting, and you've got the Japanese convex edge, which is like a razor. It's sharp to a point like a razor. It will shave you if you shave your arm, and it will also cut your finger wide open if you're not careful with it.
I've cut my finger wide open several times, Dave. I mean, I know the difference. I've cut with 440C and the VG10 and the Hitachi steel, and there's a huge difference in the quality of your cutting. I mean, it's such a joy to cut with a good quality steel. So sharp, especially when you've been sharpening them.
Thank you.
So, what about the durability? Because that's how, you know, you're going to spend a little bit more money on VG10 steel or Hitachi steel. Is it value for money? How long is it going to last?
There is always the point of diminishing returns. You know, VG10 or any of the higher end steels are really good. They will be more durable when you sharpen that edge. The edge is really like a razor point, and when you sharpen it, it will blunt initially, but then be very slow to go completely blunt after that. The harder the steel, the longer it will retain its edge, but the more brittle it is, so it's more susceptible to, if you catch the comb or if you drop it, it's more likely to chip and need repaired.
I could cry when that happens. Like when you catch the comb, it's a horrible sinking feeling. So I mean, if someone was to invest in scissors like say a 440C steel, how many years, do they get years out of it, or is it a year, a couple of years? What do you expect to get from something like that?
All being well, if you don't damage it by dropping and it's sharpened by somebody proficient, then it should easily last you 5 years. I'm sharpening scissors that are 10 years old, and in the hairdressing field, I'm sharpening scissors that are 15-year-old in decent steel, but because they are sharpened by someone who knows what they're doing, it's decent steel, and the person who owns the scissors looks after them. Those are the three most important.
But something I do, and you can tell me if this is a good idea, normally at the start of every day, I polish the scissor with a chamois leather. Like I run a chamois across the... Is that a good thing to do? I just learned that somewhere. I don't even know where, but good idea or not?
I think it's fine. The most important thing is to keep the scissors clean and free of hair. I know a lot of barbers now do colouring, so you've got to keep it free of colouring products as well, and any chemicals. So wiping it with a chamois leather or with a cloth is fine, but always remember to sharpen it with the edge pointing up and clean it from the bottom. Otherwise, you will risk slicing your finger open. Right. And the other important thing is to oil your scissors every day.
Oil the scissors.
Oil the scissors before you start, either the start of the day or the end of the day when they're clean. 1 drop of oil on each side. The pivot will see you good, and cleaning the edges of your scissors will make them last much longer than if you don't clean them.
So oil them every day.
Every day.
I quite often spray Clippercide on my scissors. Like once they start getting congested, I'll clean them off, and I'll give them a little blast of Clippercide, and I get it moving again, and they seem to move all right. That's a lubricant, and it also kills viruses and bacteria. Is that okay? Do you think?
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's solvent based, so what that does, it dissolves any grime and solidified hair on there. But I will add, you're probably best to oil after that. While it claims to be a lubricant, it's not as much of a lubricant as having proper scissor oil on your blade afterwards. So clean with that or another cleaning product, but then oil afterwards.
Proper scissor oil.
Yeah.
Okay. Now pollutant in people's hair. When clients come in after their work, maybe late in the day, sometimes, especially in a barber shop, they're coming off of a building site, maybe they come in, they have dust, they maybe have sawdust, plaster dust, cement dust, could be metal if they're working with metal. And not every barber shop has a backwash facility. So what would they do? You don't want to use your good scissors. What would you advise there?
I would advise generally to use your backup scissors if you have one, just for removing most of the hair, and then finish off with your good scissors.
Like an older scissor. If you have an older scissor, get that out. And what about, I mean, same with clippers, right?
Absolutely the same with clippers. Clippers, if you're doing a lot of clippering in hair that's contaminated or full of product, then the latest silicone for your hair and that is basically, I sharpen on disc with silicone, so you can imagine that's actually going to blunt your scissors quite quickly, and your clipper blades if that gets in and isn't cleaned out.
How often should scissors be sharpened?
Now I will answer with how long is a piece of string, but generally if you're a busy barber, I would say about every 3 months is kind of normal. I do see some barbers who are, and it depends on your cutting style. If you're quite heavy-handed with the scissors, then you're going to need them maybe every 8 weeks. If you're gentle on your scissors and have several scissors that you use during the process of the day, then I sometimes don't sharpen for 5 months. But generally, as a rule of thumb, busy barber, every 3 months.
What's the telltale sign that it's time to get sharpened?
With bending the hair, what's called bending. But there's different terms for it. Basically, when you try to cut hair, the hair folds in the scissors, and you maybe have to go over it twice, 2 or 3 times to get a cut. Is a classic sign that your scissors are being sharpened. Bending or folding the hair, depends which domain you come from, but essentially the hair goes in between the scissor blade, folds over it and doesn't get cut.
Yeah.
The other sign more on the German bevel edge scissors is that you have to force the scissors closed more than you've been doing, so it feels crunchy and you've got to forcefully close the scissors as another sign.
Yeah. Drives me crazy, that. And also, that's another reason you should have a set of backup scissors, so when your scissor starts to go a little bit dull, then get your backup scissor out, and you can use that while you're waiting on your current scissor being sharpened. Well, Dave, thanks very much for that insight. It's been absolutely fascinating to learn about what you're seeing in scissors, and I think the viewers are going to benefit from knowing what they should be looking for when they're buying a set of scissors.
Thank you, Mike.
It's been great having you on, and I'll see you guys in my next video.